Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today, I wanted to spend a little time discussing spirit guides. I have a meditation on the channel to meet your spirit guide. We've discussed finding guidance through the quo material, where they indicate that we do have guidance that we can access on a regular basis. I recently discussed this on my Facebook group, and I got some very interesting responses. Many of you do listen to spirit guides on a regular basis. I think this is something that is just simply not discussed very much. People are embarrassed. They don't want to say they have voices in their head. But you start to read a lot of amazing spiritual materials, and people are listening to spirit guides all the time. So the purpose of this is to discuss spirit guides a little bit more from what I know. And there's a powerful hypnotic induction I wanted to share with you by Dick Sutphin, which will allow you to communicate and identify your own spirit guides. What we know from the quo material is essentially you have spirit guides, you have guardians, you have people that come to help you that are outside of those spirit guides. But most of us have essentially a male guide, a female guide, and a sort of androgynous guide. Many of us never hear the whisperings of these guides at any time. Some of us hear them all the time. How do we recognize if it's actually our spirit guides or not? For a long time, I never heard any guidance like this. Then I started doing hypnosis and meditations and was able to identify the female aspect of my guide being an overweight African woman who had a huge sense of humor and is just so much fun to talk to. She always has great advice for me. I have briefly accessed my androgynous guide and my male guide. I have accessed my higher self and what may be additional spirits that have offered guidance at different times. When I mentioned this in the group, I got a ton of interesting comments from different guides that people had heard from in their own lives. I think back to Julia Ryan in my interview with her. Her guide was a Catholic priest that appeared to her and helped her out. And oftentimes the guides that we're speaking to are actual people or incarnations that have chosen to be of service by offering guidance to souls along the spiritual path. In other cases, I think it's aspects of the self, and who knows exactly what's happening. Joey Kramer theorized that perhaps what I was seeing was a past life version of myself. Sometimes we see past life versions of ourselves in meditations, and once it's a young boy running from guards or evildoers or something like that. Kana Hogue said one of hers is a sassy gal who uses a cigarette holder. Deborah Lee Martin said it's a female Native American elder with a wolf. Miriam Valenzuela identified her spirit guide as a dark red dragon with black flames. Rob Harrison says that one of his guides is an insect-type being. Maria O'Brien says she has a nun who doesn't laugh, just tuts. She has 2 Native American Indians, one with impressive eagle feather headdress. She was told that he was her twin flame and that one of us is always on the other side of the veil to anchor the other when on earth. I've heard this before. Some people believe their guide is actually a twin flame that has chosen not to incarnate, but to follow their twin flame and help them and offer guidance. I think in many cases, we don't quite know where the guide came from or how they're related to you and what way they're related. Oftentimes, of course, it is ourselves, but it's certain aspects of ourselves that are guiding us. Sandy Clausing Smith said it was a humanoid, but you can't see the face or get any other details. Shelley Kim Blake says when she was living in her home country of South Africa, Chief Sitting Bull kept visiting her and thought she made up the name. Then something made her research and realized he was a real person. Jessie Nightingale says that one of her guides is a young boy. Amy Lawn says she has a large African woman also. She is constant since August 2020. I always wondered if the guidance I saw was somehow influenced by the book The Shack, in which God is played by a large overweight African American woman. Who knows? It could be a part of my subconscious producing this image. But I am getting guidance, and I have found the only way to really test it is the information I'm getting from my guides accurate and helpful? And for me, it's helpful every single time. The guidance I've received from my spirit guides has never been wrong. Marlise Jones says, it's a praying mantis being in a purple royal robe. Sasha is her name, and she also has a very tall, like 7-inch tall Native American that presents similar to a totem pole, very stoic protector type energy. Leanne Sharp says her guide is an African American lady opera singer, quite posh. Her name is Sue. She was apparently her older sister or mother figure in a past life. There's so many interesting stories, and I really want you to share your stories of your guides and what they look like and how they talk to you and when they present themselves to you. I think the more that we hear other people's stories about guides, perhaps we're going to be more open to sharing this information. I deeply believe that we're all getting guidance all the time, and many of us are just simply not wanting to share this information so that people don't think that they're crazy. But Dick Sutphin explored this in his book, Finding Your Answers Within, and sort of created a hypnosis to help you access your spirit guides. When I discussed the spirit guides, I had many people come to me saying, I've never heard the guidance from my spirit guides. I think you have had intuitions and feelings, but oftentimes many people, these spirit guides, I believe, are avoiding you thinking you're schizophrenic or crazy, and they're offering guidance in very subtle and interesting ways through coincidences that you have in your world and other things. Dick Sutphin, who is recognized as a walk-in by Ruth Montgomery and was an amazing hypnotist who did many past life regressions, was also interested in spirit guides, and he detailed the accounts of many of his clients in his book, Finding Your Answers Within. Maldy Moore Garcia from Gulfport, Mississippi said, a few years ago I lived in Chicago. One night while walking the 9 blocks from the church to my house, I heard footsteps behind me. They crunched lightly in the frozen snow, and I thought it was another woman. As I approached an alley, an inner voice said loudly, "Gal, cross the street." I didn't respond immediately. "Do it now, don't look back. Hurry, go toward the lights." This time I followed the instructions. When I got to the drugstore, I looked back to see a tall man in dark clothes with white gym shoes standing at the entrance to the alley. I later learned that an hour after my experience with the inner voice, a woman was pulled into the alley, robbed, raped, and beaten. The victim remembered that her attacker was a tall man wearing white gym shoes. Elaine Grace Chipotle from Dothan, Alabama, said that her spirit guides play a regular part in her life. Sometimes their communications are about trivial things, but on other occasions they concern quite important matters. Here are a couple of examples. Halfway through a grocery shopping expedition, just about the time I reached the ice cream section, an inner voice said, "Where are your car keys?" I couldn't imagine why my guides were asking that, since I assumed the keys were in my purse as always. Just to be certain, I looked for them, but to no avail. "Don't buy the ice cream, it will melt. You locked your keys in the car," they said. They were right. I called my husband, who came quickly, but he had given his set of car keys to our son. A policeman eventually used a door-opening device to open the car. Another incident concerns a 3-month effort by my guides to get me to purchase a steering wheel cover. They kept directing me into stores, then to displays of the covers. I couldn't imagine why they were doing this, so I ignored their efforts. I didn't want a steering wheel cover. I was quite happy with my car the way it was. Finally, one day as I was driving through a residential neighborhood near our house, they wanted me not to drive any farther, to either stop or to turn off at a friend's house and call my husband to take me home. Again, I ignored the inner voices. Within 2 minutes, I was involved in a head-on collision. I was lucky. I only gashed my chin on the steering wheel, but even that could have been avoided if I had listened to my voices. Randall D. Rost from Apo, New York, said, I was working on a railroad shuttle, moving rail cars from one side of the plant to the other. My job was to guide the cars down the tracks and switch tracks to place the cars in proper areas. I was daydreaming when I heard an inner voice scream, "Randy!" It was the unmistakable voice of my uncle who had died a year before. I looked up just in time to realize that if I had switched tracks, as I was starting to do, I'd have derailed the cars right on top of me. While still new to hypnosis, Sutphin did considerable experimenting with trance depth. According to him, to go deeper, you have only to relax your body from head to toe over and over until you can hardly feel a thing. Then count yourself down, then down again, and yet another time further down. On another occasion, from the darkness behind his closed eyes, an attractive woman appeared and told him her name was Nita, and she was his spirit guide. She had long jet black hair and appeared to be in her mid-30s. She was dressed in tan leather. During their conversation via thought language or instantaneous thought transference, she explained that she had shared a lifetime as part of a large group or tribe of people who lived by metaphysical ideals and practiced esoteric technologies. According to Nita, she had been with him since his birth in this lifetime and would remain with him throughout his life. While out of body and on the other side, you're not idle. Serving as a spirit guide is a way to work through karma and to evolve spiritually. Nita explained she had helped her many times in the past. By taking the job as her guide, she was repaying a debt and helping herself at the same time. Satvan asked her what she did to guide him. She explained that her guidance primarily consisted in providing intuitive feelings about life directions. In other words, she is that little voice in his ear, his internal direction and warning system. Evidently, we also work together often on the other side when his physical body is asleep and he is astrally projecting, but these experiences are consciously remembered only as fragments of dreams. In the years since his first meeting, whenever he would go into a deep altered state and purposely seek out his guide, Nita was always there waiting for him. He could see her with his inner eyes and hear her with his inner ears. Some people have suggested that this is just your imagination and that you're only talking or thinking to yourself. That is certainly a possibility, but as with all subjective explorations, you have to judge by the results. Was the advice of value? Were the warnings reliable? Did the encouragement and support help you to do a better job? The answer is always the same. Yes, 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 for me and for Satvan and many, many others. Judging from hundreds of experiences, Nita greatly assisted him through her guidance. She's been extremely accurate in telling him about the future, and though she never directly told him what to do, she would point out potentials and cautions him about forthcoming conflicts. For 12 years, Satvan said, before going on stage to conduct seminars or in television studios for interviews, he made it a point to always visit his spirit guide. He knew it sounds corny, but these sessions are a lot like a coach's impassioned pre-game speech to him. She would tell him things such as, our energy will be supporting you. The best answers will always surface as you draw upon lifetimes of awareness to respond intelligently and with love and compassion. During these conversations, he would mentally sit in a chair beside Nita. Off to the side were thousands of others, the people of Teotihuacan, with whom he shared a dharma of communicating metaphysical concepts. While he ascended back into consciousness, he can hear them cheering. As a result, he would go on stage feeling warm and self-assured. Dharma is your duty to yourself and to society. It is usually best fulfilled by following your self-nature, what you're drawn to and do naturally and well. In fulfilling your purpose, you evolve spiritually. Of course, you can always choose not to fulfill your dharma, but your spirit guide will attempt to keep you on path. Some metaphysicians call a primary guide a lifetime guide. Those leaning toward Christian beliefs often perceive their unseen companions as guardian angels. A question Satvan was often asked is, can you have more than one guide? The answer appears to be yes, but you will have one primary guide. There are many reasons you might have more than one guide. Satvan once worked with a woman who became increasingly involved with spiritual activities and service to others. She exceeded her life plan by advancing further than either she or her guide had expected she would. During some experimental hypnosis work, she communicated directly with her guide, who explained that he had sought a support guide with more spiritual awareness who would better understand the transformations the woman was experiencing. Satvan was familiar with cases where the situation was reversed. Maybe an individual is out of control and really on the wrong path. Then his or her primary guide can ask for the assistance of a support guide who might have more expertise in dealing with strong resistance to spiritual growth. How long a support guide remains present seems to vary with each individual. Often this second guide, too, stays close by for the rest of your life. There are some cases where a deceased mate, relative, or close friend has become a support guide to the one they once loved on Earth, but this supposedly cannot happen unless the discarnate entity is quite evolved and well beyond early fear-based emotions. If the entity were still capable of experiencing jealousy, for example, they can never be allowed to take on this role because they might interfere with the course of their loved one's continuing life on Earth. Suffin explains that one afternoon while his wife and he were meditating together in Sedona, his wife first met her spirit guides. They were near Boynton Canyon Energy Vortex in an area they perceived to have been sacred to the Indians. Lying down in a smooth rock wash, they held hands, his right in Tara's left, and between their clasped hands, they placed a favorite quartz crystal. Crystals are amplifiers and can intensify a subjective experience. There was no specific purpose for the meditation other than to open to spiritual awareness. When they awoke, Tara excitedly told him about her meeting two guides. First, her primary guides, Francois, had appeared before her, and she was so happy-go-lucky in her communications that Tara had felt like laughing. Then Francois introduced Tara's support guide, Abenda. Abenda was calm and very serious and explained that she had joined Francois when Tara was 21 because Tara had been too free-spirited and reckless. Since Francois herself was gregarious and free-spirited, she needed some assistance in providing Tara with grounding and direction. The rest of Tara's meditation session was spent with her guides, who explained many things about the spirit world and our relationship. Since then, his wife had communicated regularly with her unseen companions. Suffin explained that though he had many conversations about spirit guides, he'd never told Tara what Nita looked like. Yet on a rough airplane flight during one of their seminar tours, Tara described her to Suffin. Concerned about their safety since the plane was dipping wildly through stormy skies, Tara went into an altered state to talk to her guides. They told her there was no need to fear and explained that they were perfectly safe and had a lot of work to do before they were ready to cross over into spirit. Then Nita appeared to Tara. She was dressed in tan leather, looking just as I've always visualized her. After she too reassured Tara as to our safety, she began to talk about Suffin and about how much she approved of the relationship Tara and Suffin had shared. It seems that Nita and the tribe had participated in the decision that Tara would be the woman I would spend the rest of his life with. Suffin and his wife had shared many lifetimes, including the Teotihuacan incarnation, and this bonding would be a reward. With her at his side, he would continue to do his work and was destined to accomplish, and she would become involved in her own metaphysical explorations. Suffin said that since that flight, Nita had often appeared to Tara, usually to chat, sometimes to offer advice about Suffin. Occasionally, when Tara was meditating, Nita would join Francois and Abenda, and all three would begin communicating at once. It can be a little overwhelming, his wife said, after a lengthy session. After direct communication with your spirit guides is established, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is to give them too much power. Suffin has seen many people do this. You must always use your own judgment about advice you receive subjectively. As the guide of a hypnotized woman once told him, dying doesn't increase your intelligence. Also be aware that a true spiritual guide will not use gutter language, will never scare you, and will never make you feel ill at ease. Of course, they could always share some piece of knowledge that might disturb you. Suffin recalls a woman who was very upset with her guides because they didn't like the man she was seeing. My guides are so negative, she said. All they do is put down the wonderful new man I've been dating, so I'm not talking to them anymore. You've probably already guessed the outcome of the story. The new boyfriend stole several $100s from the woman before disappearing, never to be heard from again. The physical appearance of their guide is always a concern of people in his seminars. Since there is neither male nor female on the other side, the guide will choose a comfortable appearance. This might be the way they looked in their last earth life at what they consider to be an ideal age. It is also possible that your primary guide has never incarnated upon the earth, although these cases seem to be exceptions, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the guide never experienced a physical incarnation, for there are millions of other entities. Most metaphysicians have found that an extremely high percentage of spirit guides are American Indians, Hindus, Egyptians, or Chinese. There is no explanation for this other than these races seem to personify wisdom. Maybe we are more likely to accept their guidance than we are, say, of an ex-accountant from the Bronx. In some cases, guides seem to prefer to appear as a light or illuminated energy. The light is usually white or blue and often looks like it is moving. You usually think of a deep blue or purple light as indicating contact with the master rather than with spirit guides. A master is a very highly evolved spirit that would be drawn to you to assist you in attaining spiritual awareness or to assist you in metaphysical service. You've heard the statement, when the student is ready, the master will appear. A master has the ability to work with thousands of students and comes and goes in your life or works with you at night when you are asleep and out of body. Jesus and Buddha are masters, but there are many others. Getting back to spirit guides, you should be aware that you have the guides you deserve. One of the universal laws is the divine law of attraction. In other words, where your attention goes, your energy flows, or like attracts like. So you get the kind of guides that you have earned in your past. When you say past, you mean all your past lives, the time between lives and your present life up until this moment of time. My guide was a dullard, a seminar participant once told Sutphin. He didn't seem to have any energy or imagination. I think he was asleep at the switch, so I meditated and asked that someone else come in and replace him. He explained that every day for weeks he called out to positive powers of the universe, the concerned masters, and anyone else on the other side that might be of assistance. Then one day they replaced the dullard, and the new guy is great. We have a real rapport. He's an old Chinese man who laughs funny. This is the only case of its kind that Sutphin had heard of, and he's sure that he accepts it. But if you're unhappy with your guide and decide to try for a replacement, then please let me know and put it in the comments if that's something that happens. Sutphin explored a couple of cases where the entire family seems to have an overguide. Each member of these families has his or her own primary guide, but a family overguide has also kept watch over generation after generation. A young man in Texas reincarnation seminar once stood up and told him that he thought the whole idea of guides was a stupid, self-created crutch to keep us from feeling alone. I used to play the game of talking to my guides, but then one day I had a bad auto accident and was in the hospital for 3 weeks. If my guides were real, they certainly would have warned me about the accident, he said. Sutphin disagreed. If the accident was necessary as karmic retribution, they would not have been allowed to tell you. To have informed you would mean that you would have had to take on the karma themselves. Maybe the accident was the only way for you to learn a needed lesson about your driving before you killed yourself or someone else. Maybe the lesson was related to learning to accept the assistance of others. There is no way for you to know, but you can find out on your own. Maybe the accident was just cause and effect karma. In other words, you have been so negative in so many ways that you needed to blow off that negativity, so you chose a fast, dramatic way to do it. At the end of this episode, I'm going to provide you with a hypnotic script to use in an alternate state of consciousness session where you can meet your own spiritual guide and ask your own questions. In preparation for that session, it's important not to have preconceptions about how your spiritual guide will appear to you. Just as when you receive past life impressions, it is different for everyone. Instantaneous thought transference or thought language is the primary way to receive information during meditation and to communicate with your guides. The air around you is filled with radio and TV messages, but you can't hear them until your set is turned on and tuned to the station you want to receive. The air around you is also filled with voices of disembodied spirits, but you can't hear them until you become open to receive them. You hold the power to decide what messages you will receive and to what spiritual level you will be attuned. If you use protective invocations, if you have a high level of awareness, and if you sincerely desire to contact only highly evolved and loving entities, then mischievous or negative spirits cannot get through. Using thought language in meditation is a matter of silently, subjectively sending out a thought, then listening for an internal answer which may be perceived as another thought or feeling or a fantasy-like visualization. Don't expect the voice of God to literally speak in your ear. Instead, be alert for gentle, intuitive feelings, ideas, and awareness. These may be very well directed from your own guides. Masters are those whom you seek to contact. You'll soon sense when you are in contact, and with a little practice, you'll be able to judge the validity of your experiences. If an unseen voice uses bad language or tells you exactly what to do, immediately cease communication. Highly evolved souls won't command you. Instead, they will gently guide you toward expanded awareness. The more you develop this technique, the more effective it will become. Always be aware that you are in control in a meditation. If you feel uncomfortable in any way, just count yourself up from 1 to 5 and say wide awake. It is always good to include a white light protection ritual. You can choose to intensify it by repeating it or adding to it. The higher your level of awareness, the less you need to use protection. But we all have down days when it would be easier for a low-level entity to come through. When you say low-level entity, it means a number of earthbound spirits who remain in the lower astral planes, often unaware they are dead and desperately trying to cling to life. The more peaceful, harmonious, and healthy you are, the easier it will be to communicate directly with your spirit guides, and the harder it will be for an undesirable entity to influence you. Your primary guide is particularly concerned about your needs and will always assist you, whether you ask for help or not. But if you openly ask for assistance, they can do so much more. Frequently in sessions with Sutphin's spirit guide Nita, he would ask for assistance on a particular problem, but didn't necessarily receive answers immediately. The awareness would come in a dream or might awaken in the morning with the answer in your mind. It's also good to point out that everything speaks to you. If you're open enough to listen and to observe, a sign by the road, a passage in a book, or a line in a song might be exactly what you most benefit from in regard to your current need or conflict. Finding a heart-shaped stone might be a way for your unseen companions to communicate their presence or to let you know you are loved. Always remember to trust your instincts. Do not expect your guides to make decisions for you. A guide cannot tell you what to do. They can show you alternatives and offer general awareness, but the final decision will always be up to you. Also, after each session with your guides, be sure to thank them for sharing their wisdom and express your positive feelings toward them. So now I want to do the spirit guide meditation. So just find a place where you can escape a little bit from the outside world. You can sit down or lay down, whatever is more comfortable for you. First, use deep breathing to relax your body and mind. Take a very deep in-breath and hold it for as long as you comfortably can. Let the breath out slowly through slightly parted lips. This allows you to retain the moisture in your mouth. When you think there is no air left in your lungs, contract your stomach muscles and force out any that remains. Then repeat the process. Do this diaphragm breathing for 2 to 5 minutes before you begin the body relaxation. When you begin to relax your physical body, play the role, play the part, and imagine your body relaxing in response to the suggestions. So for a few minutes, I just want you to do some deep breathing in your diaphragm, breathing in, holding it, and then breathing out through your diaphragm. relaxing power is now entering the toes of both your feet at the same time. It is moving right on down into the ball, into the arches, into your heels, and up into your ankles. Completely relaxed. Completely relaxed. And the relaxing power now moves on up your legs to your knees, relaxing all the muscles as it goes. And now on up to your legs, to your thighs, and to your hips. Just completely relaxing. And your full attention is on relaxing your body as the relaxing power now moves on up into the fingers of both your hands. Relaxing your hands. And your forearms are relaxing. And your upper arms are relaxing. Your fingers and hands and forearms and upper arms are now completely relaxed. And the relaxing power moves on down into the base of your spine, relaxing the base of your spine. And beginning to move slowly up your spine, up your spine, up your spine, and into the back of your neck and shoulder muscles. And the back of your neck and shoulder muscles are now becoming loose and limp. Loose and limp. Just completely relaxed. And the relaxing power now moves on up the back of your neck and into your scalp, relaxing your scalp. And the feeling of relaxation now drains on down into your facial muscles, relaxing them. Your jaw is relaxed. You leave a little space between your teeth, and your throat is relaxed. Your entire body is now relaxed all over in every way, and all tension is gone from your body and mind. And you now draw a beam of shimmering, iridescent white light down from above. This is the universal light of life energy, the God light. You imagine it. You create it with the unlimited power of your mind. And the light enters your crown chakra of spirituality at the top of your head. You feel it beginning to flow through your body and mind. Flowing through your body and mind and beginning to concentrate around your heart area. And you now imagine the light emerging from your heart area and totally surrounding your body with a protective aura of bright, white God light. And you are completely protected, totally protected. Only your own guides and masters or highly evolved and loving entities who mean you well will be able to influence you in any way. As you continue to relax, feeling protected, you see yourself at the top of a stairway and you begin to walk down the stairs. Down as you count backwards from 7 to 1. 7. Deeper. 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 Down. Down. 6. Deeper. Deeper. deeper, down, down, down. 5, deeper, 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 down, down, down. 4, deeper, 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 down, down, down. 3, deeper, 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 down, down, down. 2, deeper, 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 down, down, down. 1. And you are now relaxed and at ease, and you feel a sense of deepness. You remain consciously aware of your surroundings, but your body is going to sleep. To sleep. To sleep. 7. Deeper, deeper, down, down. 6. Deeper, 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 down, down, down. 5. Deeper, 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 down, down, down. 4. Deeper, 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 down, down, down. 3. Deeper, 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 down, down. 2. Deeper, deeper, down, down, down. 1. And you are now in a deep, deep altered state of consciousness. For a few moments, imagine a white light surrounding you and protecting you. In your superconscious mind lies an awareness of ultimate truth and the totality. Within your superconscious mind lies an awareness of everything that has ever happened to you throughout all time. On a superconscious level, you are aware of how all the people in your life relate to your past and of the involved karmic interaction that you have set as a path for learning and to fulfill your dharma. You are also aware of your time spent on the other side between lifetimes and of your spirit guides who are even now assisting you in accomplishing the growth you desire. Your primary guide has been with you since birth, always assisting you in the fulfillment of your personal mission. Love is the power behind the guidance, and you are aware that it is you who have asked your guide for this direction. And it is now time to make contact with your primary spiritual guide so that you can directly communicate about your life and the unseen realms. You will begin by perceiving your guide's primary name. There are many names in many languages, some of which you have never heard spoken, and many languages you have never heard of, so you will not prejudge what you receive. You will simply allow the letters of your guide's name to come into your mind, one letter at a time. First letter. Second letter. Third letter. Fourth letter. Fifth letter. And if there are additional letters, allow them to come in now. When you have perceived the name, say it over and over silently in your mind. If the name sounds unusual, you may discover with a little research that it is common in another language or an ancient culture. and you now want to perceive exactly what your spirit guide looks like. So on the count of 3, he or she will mentally appear before you. You will trust your impressions as you have never trusted before. 1. You are opening and asking your guide to appear before you. 2. You beseech them to be with you now. 3. Perceive your guide before you. If necessary, begin with the feet and allow them to form. Then slowly move up and notice the details, a few at a time. Is your guide male or female? If necessary, choose what seems most correct. How old does he or she appear to you? What about hair color and style? Perceive your guide's clothing. All right, now you're going to use thought language to communicate directly with your guide. I've left several moments for you to ask questions and to receive answers. You are now interested in your guide's past lives, especially if the two of you have shared incarnations. Let this awareness come in the form of visual impressions and thought language. Now would be a good time to discuss with your guide the areas of your life that you need to change if you desire to accomplish your mission and evolve spiritually. You can now discuss with your guide how you can best serve this planet. What can you do to assist others and to serve the planet? Thank your guides now. say your goodbyes, or ask any more questions you might have. In just a moment, you're going to awaken to full beta consciousness, feeling as if you've had a nice, refreshing nap. Your head will be clear, and you'll think and act with calm self-assurance, feeling glad to be alive and at peace with yourself, the world, and everyone in it. You will awaken remembering absolutely everything that you experienced in this altered state of consciousness. On the count of 5, you will open your eyes and be wide awake. 1. Coming on up now, and you sense an expanding spiritual light within. 2. Coming on up and at peace with all life. 3. Coming on up, and you sense internal balance and harmony. 4. You now sense your situation and remember the situation that you're in and the room, wiggling your fingers and toes, opening your eyes. And 5. Wide awake. Wide awake. You have now awoken. Please write down your experience. Share it with me in the comments. Share it with me by email if you don't want to share it in the comments, but I would love to hear what you learned from your spirit guide. I would love to hear what your experience was. And please come back to this video, try it again, and share your future experiences. If you establish a direct, closer relationship with your spirit guides and how it evolves, I would love to know, and sharing your experience will help others in their evolution as they learn to accept the guidance from their spirit guides. The more people that are following this process, the more people you see doing it, the easier it will be for you to accept the guidance in your life. You are evolving into an amazing spiritual powerhouse. I'm sending all my love to you. Go out and have the most amazing day. And welcome to the Reality Revolution.